Ushuaia, the city at the end of the world and the last stop before the Antarctic. Nestled between the towering Andes and the icy waters of the Beagle Channel, this remote gem of Argentina offers a breathtaking blend of rugged wilderness and rich history. Join me as we dive into the beauty and mystery of this southernmost city on the planet. Legend has it that when the first Europeans traveled past the coast and fjords of southern Patagonia on their ships, it gleamed with bonfires built by the indigenous people because of the cold. The Europeans named the area after them, the Tierra del Fuego, or Land of Fire. The same indigenous people who lived here for thousands of years named this place Ushuaia, which means deep bay. And nowadays this bay is filled with massive ships that are waiting for their departure to Antarctica. This is such an impressive thing to see, and that is why, right after I landed and dropped my bags at the hotel, I went straight to the waterfront to admire the views. It's hard to really understand where you are until you have a look at a world map. That's what really blew my mind. Ushuaia is located at the tip of South America, roughly 1,100 kilometers from the Antarctic Peninsula. This place really feels special. It is so remote, yet so connected. It is fascinating in its contrasts, and it is one of the places that will always stay in your memory. Now, if this isn't a scene out of a fairy tale, then I don't know what is. For a person who spent a third part of their life living in Dubai, this kind of weather is a dream come true. Alright, so today is a special day, guys, because I managed to buy a last-minute spot on a trip to Martillo Island to walk with penguins. There is only one company in town that is licensed to lead these tours, and it is Tour. Near Ushuaia's port area is a cluster of small wooden huts, all of which are tour offices, and you will find their hut amongst the rest. To not cause much disturbance to penguins, they limit the amount of people that can visit on a given day. Just make sure to book your spot in advance because they sell out very quickly. Even though the weather was extremely beautiful in my opinion, it wasn't the best for doing this tour. It was freezing cold and super windy. For you to just get an idea of how cold it was, I had to put 2 down jackets on me on top of 2 wool sweaters. Yeah. On Martillo Island we saw 3 species of penguins, which are a king penguin, Gentoo penguin, and a Magellanic one. King penguins are the second largest penguin species in the world, after the emperor penguin. Their size, along with their striking orange and yellow markings on the head and neck, makes them one of the most recognizable species. And the one that you see right there is standing among the group of Gentoo penguins, which are the fastest swimmers, by the way. They are easily recognized by the distinctive white stripe that extends like a bonnet across the top of their head, from one eye to the other. They've also got bright orange beaks and feet. Gentoos nest on open ground and prefer to build their nests out of stones, and they often engage in stone stealing from nearby nests to add to their own. The best stones are highly prized, and finding them is a significant part of their courtship behavior. Fun fact about this species: it mates for life, and males that cheat on their partners are often violently exiled from their colonies. Now, the Magellanic penguins. These ones are easily recognized by the two black bands that run across their chest, with one forming a sort of collar at the neck. They're migratory birds and travel great distances during the non-breeding season, sometimes migrating as far north as Brazil. They always return to the same nesting site year after year. Magellanic penguins are also monogamous, usually mating with the same partner for life. They typically nest in burrows or under bushes, which helps protect their eggs and chicks from predators and extreme weather. The tour lasted only an hour, and you had to walk very carefully, following the guide's steps literally, as to not disrupt their nests or something. You had to maintain your distance to the penguins, which is understandable, of course. Even though it was a very brief visit to the island, I still believe it was a great thing to do. Once we got back to Ushuaia, I immediately headed to a restaurant for lunch. Ramos Generales ended up being my favorite spot to eat in town, mostly for its ambience and great food. My choice this time was a pumpkin soup and vegetable risotto with mushrooms. They also had amazing desserts. This one was the best, in my opinion. Another place that I chose to visit was the End of the World Museum, which covers the history of Tierra del Fuego, from the life of the native tribes and the first European expeditions to the settlers, navigators, and adventurers who contributed to the development of the island. Also, it holds a vast collection of native fauna. Just look how sunny it got in the afternoon. If you asked me what the weather is like in Patagonia, I would definitely say unpredictable. You can experience all 4 seasons in one day here. So years ago, Ushuaia was known for its prison and its naval base. The naval base is still there, although it's not huge, but the prison has long since been converted into a museum. While the region definitely has charms of its own, it is best known as a gateway to Antarctica. Many of the ships that head down to the Antarctic Peninsula during the southern summer depart from the docks right next to the center of town. As we just established, much of Ushuaia's history surrounds its prison, speaking of which, I decided not to visit. It just feels right to stay away from low vibrational places like this one. But what I did do was visiting the End of the World train. And now let's go back in time for a moment to understand what was happening here. Argentina's most ruthless convicts and notorious political prisoners were brought here until the prison's closure in 1947. During that time, the 600 prisoners that occupied the prison's 380 cells helped to build the city and support its residents. In addition to constructing buildings, supplying timber, and providing electricity, the prisoners also constructed a railway to this settlement. Now known as the End of the World train, it's become a popular tourist attraction as the southernmost functioning railway in the world. Operating into the Tierra del Fuego National Park, the Tren del Fin del Mundo is a great option if you want to see the surrounding landscapes that look super dramatic, by the way. So once you arrive at the end of the world station, you board the train to travel the last 7 kilometers of the original 25 that prisoners traveled 100 years ago. This way, not only do you get to visit an inaccessible part of the Tierra del Fuego National Park, but you also learn the history of how it all began here. I have to say I enjoyed the experience aboard this vintage railway so much. The train had those steam locomotives. I mean, the whole vibe was so cool. It made me feel like I was transported back in time. The Fuegian Southern Railway was the train that connected the city of Ushuaia with the old Patagonian prison. The train connected both points by crossing the Fuegian forest. In addition to transporting food and construction materials, the train was used to transport prisoners. The Ushuaia prison operated as such until 1947. With the closure of the prison, the train stopped operating a few years later. After 40 years without working, in 1994, the End of the World train resumed its operation, but for purely tourist purposes. Of course, the 3 locomotives are replicas of the original ones. The current route is only a third part of the original route, but it still preserves all the magic of the landscapes of the End of the World, crossing enchanted forests and unforgettable panoramic points. Lastly, we reached La Pattaya Bay, where you get the best views of the Beagle Channel and can find mollusks, mussels, and traces of the ancient native people who inhabited the region. The national park represents the southernmost protected area in Argentina. It is the only one that has maritime coasts, forests, and mountains. There are numerous hiking trails throughout the park, and of course hiking was one of the activities that I 100% wanted to do here. So the other day I went on a trip with a tour operator called Canal. They're specialized in all sorts of activities within Tierra del Fuego National Park, and I chose the one that included a canoe ride. We paddled down the river into the Beagle Channel waters on these inflatable canoes. It was so much fun, guys. Then we had a lunch break in a cool geodesic dome with amazing views around us, and then went on a long hike exploring a sub-Antarctic forest. I stayed at 2 completely different types of properties during my visit to Ushuaia. The first one was sort of a guest house with private rooms that you saw earlier. And for the last 2 nights of my trip, I decided to spoil myself, and that's how I came up with an idea to book Cauquenes Resort and Spa. This is something else, guys. Located on the shores of the Beagle Channel, this hotel is a real jewel. My room had a mountain view, but they also have rooms with views of the channel and a private beach deck. The hotel features rustic architecture of wood and stone with impressive natural surroundings with a real edge of the earth feel. By the way, I find Patagonian architecture so cool. It's like the houses are designed to avoid conflict with the mountain backdrop. The interior was very homely in style. perfect for reflecting on the experiences you had in this part of the world. To be honest with you, I did not want to leave this place at all. All I wanted to do was to sit in one of those comfy chairs and read a book or write in my diary. This is indeed a place of tranquility and rest. Their spa is amazing, but because I caught cold days before coming here and wasn't feeling well during my entire stay, I did not go neither to the spa nor the pools. But just by looking at all this, it got me feeling beyond satisfied. On the day of my arrival, they offered me a welcome drink, and I had a white wine at one of their glassed observation decks, or what would you call them? Hey, I know it looks like a daytime, but don't be fooled. During December, that's when I visited, the average day in Ushuaia has about 17 hours of daylight, with sunset around 10 p.m. They've also got a private beach where you can walk admiring the extraordinary bird life that visits this area. And that's what I did that afternoon. Let's be honest here, what would be a trip to the end of the world without navigating the Beagle Channel and reaching the so-called lighthouse of the end of the world? This is a must-do in Ushuaia, and once again I got blessed with the weather that day. Our catamaran pushed off the port and navigated the Beagle Channel for almost 4 hours on a similar route as Charles Darwin did in the mid-1800s. Crossing the channel from one end to the other, seeing the city of Ushuaia crowned by snow-capped mountains, navigating Bird's Island and Island of Sea Lions, reaching the epic lighthouse was a fantastic way to spend the day. The lighthouse is located on a small islet in the Beagle Channel. It's not very big, just about 11 meters high, but the place where it's located and the bright colors with which it's painted make this a spot that everyone wants to visit. Right before heading back to Ushuaia, we disembarked at the Bridges Island for a walk that led up to a beautiful panoramic view of the surrounding landscapes. There we saw the unique flora of this area and got to learn about the Yamana Aborigines that inhabited this place a long time ago. When we travel to a new place, we also can see our own lives from a new perspective. It's always great to visit other places, get out of one's own mindset of what life is and what we're habituated to seeing. It encourages a deeper understanding of the world and inspires a sense of wonder and discovery. You could explore a forest or walk down a new street, try a different cuisine or learn about another culture. When you travel, you never stop learning, and there is an entire world of things to do and people to meet. This trip has given me so much. I feel like I got to live like an explorer of some kind for almost a month. This was definitely an adventure, and I am immensely grateful for every part of it. Thank you for sharing it with me, and I will see you in the next one.